All right, guys, you guessed it. We are going to solve the problems that we researched yesterday. Yesterday, we found three different, we looked for problems three different ways. One, based on our own experiences and what our colleagues tell us. Two, friends and family. We asked them what are some problems they have experienced in their, or horror stories, maybe, if you will. Or maybe just stories that are situations that could have been better when they had a different real estate agent. And the third one, we used ChatGPT. So hopefully you found the problems on your own of the things that you research and that you ask your friends and family. And today we're going to cover the ChatGPT stuff. Just a reminder, this is section 3 of the free training. Lesson 2, if you are getting any value from this, please tell others. It's just the right thing to do. It's just the right thing to do because they're going to get value too. And it makes them like you more. Okay, so this actually should say 3.2 because that's where we are. But 3.1, we were finding problems. 3.2, we're solving the problems. And this is the worksheet from yesterday. And in the description of yesterday's training, there is the ChatGPT list of all the problems that people can face. So basically what I wanted to do was kind of just solve these for you. Let me find out what I did with it. Is it there? And I'm hoping that you solve all the problems that you discovered or your friends family told you about on your own. But for the ones with ChatGPT, we're going to do it together. And we're going to talk really quick because this can get long and we go into too many details. But ChatGPT said that we can actually get rid of these bullet points here. Oh, that was wonky. We're going to get rid of these bullet points. Maybe not. It doesn't want to do that. Doesn't really matter. It's driving me crazy. There's bullets here and they don't have to be. Or maybe, or whatever. Here we go. Who cares? Anyway, so the first thing that people can experience if they try to sell it on their own or they made a bad decision on their real estate agent hire is that they can have a lack of market knowledge. And it is our duty as real estate agents to be on top of the market. And here are the tools that we discussed inside of the listing training that is applicable here. Hopefully you did master all of this stuff in the listing training. You went through all the trainings for the MLS, through contracts, and through all of these things, and you know exactly how to do these things. If not, definitely do it. This bottom one is Keeping Current Matters. There's a link for it. It is an affiliated link. Whatever. I'll make a buck off you, so just do it. And I'll put it in the description, but you definitely want to do Keeping Current Matters. But all these things are going to help us understand the market and make sure that we do not have lack of market knowledge. A lot of our colleagues will, even listing colleagues, so it's best that we stay on top of that. So know all these things. So you could say, anyway, so here's what you say. Listen, having market knowledge is incredibly important, as you know. That's one of the reasons you hired me. Here's some stats and data that I pulled up based on what we are looking. And you're going to do this live with them, which I'm going to talk about in section 3.5. And you're going to show them live, hey, in your zip code that we're looking, this is what's happening. This is the days in the market. This is the average price per square footage. This is what's happened last year or 2 years ago at this time. Keeping Current Matters really covers nationally. So if they say, I'm worried about foreclosures, well, that's not a big deal. According to Keeping Current Matters and the stats that they have pulled, this is the You can use this stuff to be educated when you talk to people. Extremely important if you want them to tell everyone about you. Remember, we're solving all the problems. If you can solve all of the problems, it's the biggest hurdle, or the biggest step forward, I should say, for you to become a real estate agent that they tell everyone else about, and that so they don't leave you and go to someone else. The second problem that ChatGPT discovered for us is that they have insufficient access to listings. So a good thing you can do for this is to turn on their auto searches for them and also copy yourself. I like to copy myself because if something cool comes up and I see it before them, because I'm at work, this is what I'm doing, I can say, hey, did you see this listing? Do you want me to research more about it? And they say, yeah, definitely. There's a bunch of cool things that you can research that our colleagues simply don't research. And I talk about that in 3.4, 3.5 of this training. So check that out. Really, really cool. So yeah, I want to talk about it now, but I kind of don't. So I'm going to skip past that. And then also search for off-market stuff. Go ahead and look at for sale by owners. See if there's anything listed on Zillow or Facebook Marketplace. Chances are there's not. But at least you could say to them, hey, I'm going to not only look for things that are on market and stay on top of this and remind you when really good stuff comes up, but I'm also going to search off market for you also. And I'm also going to look for new construction property for you as well. And that's kind of important because there's a lot of there's properties that very often, I'm going to see if my MLS is up anywhere where I can show it to you. Oh, it is. Great. So let me pull this over here. So there might be some properties that fit their description that that there's new construction in communities or even models within communities that fits their needs. And there's a widget in here right here, New Home Source Pro, at least where we're at, and I don't know what board you're at, but I'm assuming it's something similar, that that can find new construction homes for them. So you click on that and you do a search and you can save it, and now you can find new construction properties. And if you're concerned about if they will, I guess, cheat on you, and if they will cheat on you or not and leave you for and just go straight to the builder and you don't get paid, no worries. We cover exactly why that won't happen. And I think it's 3.4 again. I'm not too sure, but we'll see. Okay, so that's that. The next thing that they said was negotiating challenges. So you could say, hey, negotiation is key, that it can make or break a deal. Not only that, it could either make or save you or even cost you tens of thousands of dollars if your agent doesn't know how to negotiate well. That's why I took every negotiation course that I could. I did the Coaching by Cusi / Suit Up Agents negotiating training. By the way, you get that in premium. You can get that for $1. GetSUA.com. Go ahead, do it. It's only $1. I took the negotiation trainings. I did the certified negotiating trainings. I did the negotiating training that's offered with our brokerage. I even read Never Split the Difference, and I do read it. I love this book. It's always here. I always refer to it. Great tips in that book. Definitely get that. And so you basically say, so anything that could possibly be done to learn how to negotiate well, I'm doing, because I feel like that is at least I can do, is learn how to do that to make sure you're getting the best possible deal and situation, and mean it and do it. All right, paperwork and legal requirements. My answer to that was to take every contract class that exists and offer to have your attorney review the offers prior to signing. So yeah, if you have a relationship with a title attorney, and you should, and it's a good one, just say, hey, I will send you my business, no problem. I am going to ask you to do some help for me. Maybe just review some offers for me whenever I need it. And once you do this for long enough, and maybe you're in this position now, I don't know exactly, your situation. Maybe contracts already like the back of your hand and you don't need this. Maybe it's only if someone requests, like, hey, if you request this, I have no problem offering this, and don't worry about the cost. I'll have my attorney review the contract. If it's a concern for them, right? If it's not a big concern and they trust you, then do it, as long as you know what you're doing. But that is some way that we could solve the problem. Like, I don't worry about paperwork. I know these contracts inside and out. I've gone to every class. I've done everything I possibly could. Or you can say I've done hundreds of them. Don't worry about the paperwork. I got you covered. I'll do it. Make sure making sure everything's taken care of on the paperwork and legal side, and actually do it and actually mean it. Huge problem for them. So solve it. Inspection and repair negotiations. That goes with the other negotiation things. Like I know how to negotiate well, but maybe you can say, hey, I'll review this inspection with, let's say the pool has a leak in it, and they're saying the pool leak is $10,000. Like, well, let me review this with my pool guy, and maybe your pool guy says it's only $1,000, and you can say, hey, my pool guy did this. My pool guy, my roofer, whoever you're doing it, my bug guy, whoever did this inspection for free. All they ask is that you use their services or consider using their services when you're ready to make those repairs. That's it. Or if you have to cover it and it's like $100 or $200, just do it. Do it for your client. Say, I'll cover that for you. Our return on investment on this business is very large. We can afford to do those extra perks for our clients, and actually they deserve it. So offer that and do it. Financing complications. So you can always tell you, like, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, financial complications happens a lot when we don't do our due diligence on the lender that we're using. I have vetted dozens of lenders. So-and-so is definitely the best, and I definitely recommend doing that. So what that's going to do is you should do that. Don't just ask a friend or someone who reached out to you or a neighbor or whatever. Like, vet lenders and like kind of test them out. Are they good on their communication? Are they good go-getters? Are they natural problem solvers? Prime example, recently doing a deal where the buyers want a closing costs covered, and they said, I want closing costs covered. And the lender knew about this, and then I thought to ask, like, wait, maybe there's a cap on these closing costs. And there is. And that lender never brought that up themselves. And good thing I'm experienced, because if I weren't experienced to ask that, my clients would have thought that they had all the closing costs covered when only a certain percentage was actually covered. That's how bad reviews happen. So making sure that you're vetting your lenders very, very well is extremely, extremely important. And you can say, hey, this is what I did. All right. And if they pick their own lender anyways, you can say, listen, cool, I respect that, your decision. can I at least have a conversation with your lender and have a conversation with them, ask them the questions. Hey, is their credit good, or is it teeter tottering? Hey, is their debt to income good? Are there any foreseeable issues that might come up? Right. Because a lot of times lenders will just take what they feel will be a good file or good enough, pass it through, because there's not a lot of too much risk for them, right? If it goes through great, if not, there's no real skin off a lot of their backs, and unfortunately, that's how some think. But it is for your client. They had to pay for the inspection, the appraisal. They had to pay for their gas driving around, their HOA application, and you had to spend all that time. We're doing all the work, and so is the buyer, and taking all the risks. So oftentimes the lenders don't really look at it like that. They're just trying to push a file through. So asking the hard questions is important. So you can say, hey, even if you're using your lender, I'm going to ask the hard questions to make sure we're doing the right thing, because then you can really save on financing complications. All right, the other one is another one that ChatGPT gave us is missed deadlines, and missed deadlines is a big deal. If you're not on top of your deadlines, you could cost your clients their escrow. And so, how do we avoid that? Well, the first thing you should do, consider doing, is hiring a TC, a transaction coordinator. Actually, if you're new to the business, I do recommend also working the transactions so you're understanding the process. So when you're in the process, you can better serve your client and negotiate because you know exactly what happens within the process. But in addition to that, you can say, hey, I have a transaction coordinator that I work hand in hand with. Their whole sole purpose is to make sure that nothing is missed. However, if something is missed, maybe you can offer them and this can be on your guarantee portion, which we'll get to, kind of jumping the gun. But you can say, hey, for every deadline that is missed, that's my fault, I will contribute $500 to your closing cost, right? Kind of put your butt to the fire. But that's actually a guarantee portion of this, so we'll get to that in a minute. But you could also say, hey, not only do I have a transaction coordinator, but we put all of the dates inside of a Google Calendar or whatever calendar service you use, including yourself. Everyone gets alerted with plenty of notice every time something comes up. So if inspection is due, we'll get alert 2 days, a day, an hour or so before it's done. Escrow, HOA application, loan contingency, all that. Everyone's on top of it. Plus, we'll write an email that everyone gets. It would also be sent to you, even mailed physical copies to all parties of all the dates and all the deadlines. And if that's not enough, I have a huge whiteboard in my office with the dates that each file needs to hit in order to stay on inside of so we don't breach the contract. So those are things you can offer. Those are things I do for you. Emotional decision making. That is so true. I haven't. This is an emotional process of buying a house. We know that. And since it is an emotional process, and they're hiring us to be their leader, it's important that we separate emotion from the situation itself. And so to put the emotion here in the actual situation, we can look at this from a bird's eye view and make really intelligent and solid decisions that's in their best interest, especially not in ours. And when you have that, as your leader, they would really put a lot of trust and admiration into what you do. I can tell you from experience that pretty significant amount of my business comes from my demeanor and how I handle things, and not in that transaction. And they tell others about me, or they actually hire me again. As a matter of fact, I got a listing last night because of that. I sold a guy's house, and he loved the way I handled it. And we're about to go on the market with his other house in Boca Raton. Send your referrals, by the way. Because he said that, just the way you handle things he likes. And it's super important no matter what's going on in your world. If you're a screaming match with someone or something's crazy, when your phone rings for your client, you got to switch. You got to Clark Kent it, right? And you'd be like, hey, what's going on? Absolutely no problem. Positive, confident, I got you, but always in their best interest. So you'll say, hey, listen, I've been doing this for a while. Or if you haven't, the field I was in before this required me to do this, this, and this. Really good at separating emotion from the actual situation, making sure that I have your best interest in mind. That's also very powerful in negotiating skills because a lot of the colleagues cannot control their emotions, and we can get a lot of information from them based on how they're reacting instead of how they're thinking. And so those things really help us in the long term, make sure we're making solid decisions for you and your family, and we're not doing anything irrationally. Boom. Awesome. And then the next one, closing complications. So I recommend this with everyone. If title companies are hounding you to work with them, I always say get someone where there's a closing real estate attorney. I'm very lucky to establish a relationship with Siegel and Siegel here in Boca. And in return for the relationship where I send them a pretty good amount of business, they offer me some services at steep discounts or even free often. And you can say, listen, I work with a real estate attorney, an actual attorney, not just a closing agent. She touches every file, she looks at everything, and if anything happens, her and her partners are always there to step in and make sure everything goes right. Or if we are unfortunately in a situation where we can't hire our own closing attorney, depending on the county we're in, then she has no problems overlooking and helping us through these processes. If there's complications that goes on, she'll jump in and help us out, and don't worry about the cost. We'll make sure that's taken care of. So if you have a good relationship with a title attorney, that gives you a nice leg up on that. And even if it does cost a little something, a couple $100 to save a deal for your client, do it. It's just the right thing to do. So that's how you can explain it to your client. Another problem, lack of advocacy. This is our last one. Lack of advocacy is super important. It's knowing how to fight essentially for what's right. Fight for what's right. The party. Fight for what's right in the situation. They won't know what's right, or not a great real estate agent won't necessarily know what's right, or they wouldn't. They can say, I'm trying to say this without getting in trouble. Maybe a bad hire of a real estate agent knows what's right, but they're not really a fighter. They don't really fight for them. They really just want the deal getting done. And they really want someone who's going to fight for them. And this kind of goes hand in hand with negotiation, is to really just work for their best interest. And if they're doing things on their own, they might not know what's right or wrong. They might not know the situation. This is a very emotional thing for people, as we mentioned before, and they won't really know what to do in these situations because they haven't been here before. So you can say, listen, I got you no matter what. I'll make sure this gets done. And even if you're not experienced, say, my broker, myself, my team leader, my real estate attorney, we got you. We'll make sure this is all taken care of. We're going to fight for your best needs. We're going to fight for your best price. We're going to fight for your best terms. That's what we're here for. And mean it and do it. And these are really at the core of building a solid buyer product for them. And we're going to talk about some other cool stuff in the next 3 trainings too that we're going to compound on top of this. But print this stuff out. Also, I'll put the link for KCM inside the description too. But print this stuff out and internalize it. And when you have these conversations, you can have since you practice all this, you can have it just ready. Be like, no, don't worry about that. I got you covered because of this. I got you covered because of this. All right, you get the point. This was a long lesson. There's a lot here. It's very easy to just watch this and just ignore it later on. But seriously, like, take the stuff that you see in your screen there and just type in these answers yourself. I would do it for you, but then you won't internalize it. Look at your screen, take screenshots, and type these into your own document. And I would recommend pasting these things on your wall. Actually, just do it. I mean, what's the problem? Just turn on your printer, copy paste, or type this in, print it, stick it on your wall, and just look at it every day. And like, this is what I offer my buyers. Plus the next few things we're going to talk about in a little bit. I'll see you then.